What's going on, YouTube? This is Jay, and today we're going to talk about finding your limit. How do you know when you really shouldn't be driving anymore? How do you know when you're risking the potential of falling asleep at the wheel? Well, about 16 years ago today, I found my limit when I woke up in the middle of the median on the interstate going 70 miles an hour, and luckily I was empty and I was able to maintain control of my truck and get back on the road, and I was okay. But it's kind of one of those scared straight things, that people talk about. Like, sometimes it takes something like an event like that to get through to you that nobody can run non-stop. Nobody. It doesn't matter what you take or what kind of supplement or caffeine, no amount will keep you going forever. And eventually you're going to hit a wall. And, not technically, I'm talking about the wall of exhaustion, where caffeine is literally like drinking tap water, and these energy drinks or even pills. You're going to try to up your caffeine and up it, and eventually at some point, nothing except for, which is what I recommend, taking a short nap to try to give your body a little bit of energy back. That's all that's going to help it. And I used to really push myself when I was starting out. In my 20s, when I started driving, I really pushed the limit. I really tempted fate, and I would run non-stop, and I rarely slept, and things were a lot different back then. It was a lot more lenient when you didn't have a computer dictating how long you could drive. There was a little more leeway back then as far as people that abused the system, which was pretty common back then. I would drive from Wisconsin to Florida, and I very rarely stopped. I would stop in between to take a few naps, but I would just keep pushing. And if I didn't think there was time for a nap, I just didn't take one. I just kept going. I would never stop. I really, really tested myself because I didn't want to look bad to my boss. I just started out, and I thought that that's just what truck drivers did. They pushed themselves, with this whatever it takes kind of mentality to get the load there on time. So you got to remember, is these companies, you can work at a really good company, but that doesn't mean that they care or they know the situation you're in. So if you're exhausted and your company calls you, hey, we got this load, you do the math in your head or you write it down, and you're like, wait, I haven't slept yet and they want me to run another 10 hours. How am I going to do that? It's nothing. I found this out later in my career. There's nothing embarrassing or humiliating about you telling your company, and I don't care who it is, if it's a mom and pop or it's one of the big, huge mega carriers that are all over the place. If you're with a company that makes any kind of threat whatsoever as far as firing you or penalizing you because you tell them you're too tired to drive, maybe it's going to be time for you to start looking for another company, because they don't care. So a lot of these big companies, they have these contracts with corporations, Walmart, Amazon, all these big companies, and all they care about is their stuff getting there on time. And if that's at the expense of your sleep, they're not really too concerned about it because they're covered. So they're going to tell brokers and customers throughout your career, they're going to tell them all this nonsense. Oh no, he'll be there on time. And a lot of times they tell them that before they even talk to you, like, hey, is this cool? You want to take this? And a lot of companies take that power away. But a lot of them got away from the forced dispatch, but that is still a thing that exists. Forced dispatch does still exist in the trucking industry. If you get with certain companies, they don't want to hear, I'm tired, I'm sleepy. They don't want to hear, I was up doing laundry late and I didn't get enough sleep. They don't want to hear it. And they'll tell you, well, you need to take this load. And I'm telling you, as a veteran that's been doing this for quite some time, that no load, I don't care what it's going to make your check look like. I did it plenty. I took the money and I sacrificed my health. A lot of my great best years, when I was in my 20s, in my prime, really, I sacrificed a lot for that few bucks. And was it worth it? Not even close. It wasn't worth it. And it took me quite a while before, like even the company I'm with now, my dispatcher is amazing. He's going to make sure that I make money. He's going to make sure the company makes money. And I'm an owner-operator. I'm leased onto him. It's a little different than being a company driver. You have a little bit more say-so. But, a lot of people, it doesn't matter. They're still going to try to push you. And if you don't pump the brakes and say, hey, listen, I'm not taking that load. If you don't do that occasionally when you really are too tired, it's going to cost you big time. And maybe you'll get lucky. Maybe you'll feel yourself falling asleep and you'll pull over and go to sleep, but maybe you won't. Maybe you'll wake up like I did, in the medium, scared to death. Young, been up for who knows how long at that point, trying to maintain myself on energy drinks and, a little few snacks and junk food I had with sugar, all high sugar, to try to keep myself going. But I don't want to see any of you guys hit that wall of exhaustion that is waiting around the corner for all of us. So my suggestion and my best tip, besides don't let a company push you around and make you feel any sort of way about this freight being more important than you. Because your life is definitely not worth this. None of this. Nothing in the trucking industry. I don't care about the load. Do you think I care if it's a rush load for Walmart and they have to have it and you're going to have to sacrifice maybe your life to get it there? No, absolutely not. So just be mindful out there. Just do your hours legally and do your own kind of math. Like, I'm coming off home time now. Like, I secured a load because I've been doing this for a while. I'm going to pick up a load right now that's going to Texas, and it is going to be a pretty rush load. I know it's going to take, I could do it legally, but I'm on my way to pick it up right now. And the minute I get loaded and pick up, it's actually preload. I just got to hook up and leave. I'll make it a mile away from the facility, and I'm going to sleep. And when my 10 hours is up in the middle of the night, I'm going to take off. And I'm going to feel good enough, and I know that with a cup of coffee, I'll be just fine, and I won't need any more sleep. I won't need any naps. And I just save the naps, as a backup. So you're going to have a couple hours a day. Once you start out and you really figure out your hours, you're going to have a few hours a day to play around with. And so, it's not like you can't stop. And even if you do give up some of your time for a little bit of sleep, sometimes I've been in the position many times that a 2-hour nap very much made me feel, over 100% better for the remainder of my trip. I still had to sleep that night, but it got me through without trying to pump more caffeine into my system. And you're going to hear a lot of super truckers that say, oh, a few hours here and there, you're fine. But yeah, you are at first. But eventually, you're not going to be fine. And why not, counteract that by just grabbing a nap or doing your schedule better and not pushing yourself to the point where you're going to sacrifice yourself or somebody else. But I really want you guys to just keep in mind what you're doing out here. Just like my last video talking about hills. Pay attention. I mean, it's just like everything else. It sounds so easy. But when they start flashing money at you, and there's companies, they'll try to use that as an incentive, like, oh, hey, there's a little extra on top if you get it here on time. I know plenty of companies that do it. Yeah, well, what's that money going to mean if you don't make it at all? It's not going to mean anything. You'll be long gone. That money's not going to mean nothing. So I'm going to end the video here, but we're going to spend the rest of the day. I'm running up to around Boise, Idaho to pick up some beef that's going to go down to Texas. And we're going to talk about some other things once we get down to Texas and get on our way. But I just, I really care about the trucking community. It's everything I've had in my life has been because of trucking. All the good things and bad, but there's been way more good. And I make a very good living, and I'm not educated, formally. So I learned all on the job. I was like, I had an option, and they're like, what do you want to do? I had to do something, and I tried this, and I was really good at it. So you guys be safe out there. I'm Jay. I'm Trucker by Day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.